I am here with another amazing motivational English story to improve your English. Please focus on the words and pronunciation. The Road to the White Coat. Maya stood at the window of her small room, watching the sunrise spread golden light over the quiet street. Every morning before school, she liked to spend a few minutes here, reminding herself why she was working so hard. Ever since she was a little girl, Maya had wanted to become a doctor. She had grown up in a crowded neighborhood where many families could not afford good health care. She had watched her mother struggle with illness, unable to see a doctor for months. As a child, she had promised herself, "One day, I will help people who feel helpless." Her father was a factory worker who left home before dawn and returned late in the evening, his face lined with exhaustion. Her mother sewed clothes at home, earning a little extra to pay for Maya's schoolbooks and uniforms. They never complained, even though there was rarely enough money to buy anything beyond basic needs. Maya was determined to make all their sacrifices worthwhile. At 17, she was in her final year of secondary school. She knew the entrance exam for medical college would be difficult, but she was prepared to give everything she had. Every evening, after finishing her chores, she sat at her small wooden desk, studying until midnight. Sometimes her eyes would burn with tiredness, but she never let herself stop. One night, her father knocked gently on her door. He stepped in and looked around the room, taking in the piles of books and notes. "Maya," he said softly, "you should get some sleep." "I will, Papa," she replied, not looking up from her textbook. He came closer and rested a rough hand on her shoulder. "I know you are working hard. But promise me you will take care of your health." She smiled. "I promise." When he left, Maya closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about how many hours her father spent in the factory, how many hours her mother bent over the sewing machine. She felt the weight of their hopes pressing on her. But instead of feeling afraid, she felt stronger. "I can't let them down," she thought. The next morning, Maya packed her bag and walked to school. It was a long walk, almost 3 kilometers, but she used the time to memorize facts and practice questions in her mind. At school, she sat in the front row, listening carefully to every lesson. Sometimes her classmates teased her, calling her the walking dictionary, but she didn't mind. She knew they didn't understand how important this dream was to her. One afternoon, as she was leaving the classroom, her teacher, Mrs. Patel, stopped her. "Maya, may I speak with you for a moment?" Maya nodded and walked back inside. Mrs. Patel smiled warmly. "I wanted to tell you that your biology marks are excellent. You have a real talent for science." "Thank you, ma'am," Maya said, her heart lifting. "Have you decided where you want to apply for medical college?" Maya hesitated. "I want to apply to the city college. But the fees are very high." Mrs. Patel looked at her kindly. "I know it won't be easy, but there are scholarships for students like you. I can help you with the application." A wave of relief washed over Maya. "Really, ma'am? That would mean so much to me." "Of course," Mrs. Patel said. "You deserve a chance." That evening, Maya told her parents what Mrs. Patel had said. Her father's tired face lit up with hope. "Maya," he said, "whatever happens, we are proud of you." Her mother reached over and held her hand. "You will do great things," she whispered. In that moment, Maya felt her heart swell with courage. She knew there would be challenges ahead. She knew she might fail, and have to try again. But she also knew that she could not let fear stop her. That night, she opened her biology book again. She read each line with new determination, as if every word was a step closer to her dream. Weeks passed, and the final exams drew closer. Maya felt the pressure rising around her like heavy rain. Some nights she lay awake, worrying about all the things that could go wrong. What if she didn't score high enough? What if she let her family down? But every time these thoughts came, she remembered her promise to herself. "I will not give up." Mrs. Patel helped her prepare the scholarship application. Together, they filled in the forms, gathered certificates, and wrote the personal statement where Maya explained why she wanted to become a doctor. When she finished writing, she read it aloud softly. I have seen many people suffer because they cannot afford proper treatment. My goal is to serve those who are forgotten. I believe that everyone deserves care and dignity. Her teacher placed a hand on her arm. This is beautiful, Maya. It shows who you are. A week later, Maya posted the application. As she watched the envelope slide into the box, she whispered a silent prayer. At home, her mother tried to make her feel calm. Every evening, she would prepare hot tea and sit beside Maya while she studied. Sometimes they didn't speak. Just being together gave them both comfort. Her father had begun working extra shifts at the factory. When she asked why, he smiled and said, "I'm saving for your admission fees. Even if you get the scholarship, there will be expenses." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "You don't have to do that, Papa." He shook his head. "I want to. It is my duty." She hugged him tightly, feeling the rough fabric of his shirt against her cheek. The final exams arrived. Maya woke up before dawn on the first day. She sat quietly with her eyes closed, taking deep breaths. "I am ready," she told herself. At the exam center, hundreds of students crowded around the gates. Some looked nervous, others were laughing to hide their fear. Maya found her seat, laid out her pens, and closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about her mother's soft voice, her father's tired hands, and her own promise. "I will do my best," she thought. When the bell rang, she picked up her pen and began to write. The exams lasted 5 long days. Each evening, Maya came home exhausted. But her parents were waiting with warm food and quiet encouragement. When the last paper ended, she walked out into the sunlight, feeling lightheaded and relieved. For the first time in many months, she allowed herself to rest. That weekend, she went to the market with her mother. They bought fresh vegetables, some sweets, and a small bunch of flowers. It felt like a celebration. At night, Maya slept without dreams. Weeks later, the results were announced. The list was posted at the school notice board. When Maya arrived, a crowd had already gathered. She could hardly breathe as she searched for her name. Her heart thudded in her chest. What if I failed? What if all my hard work was not enough? Then she saw it, her name, near the top of the list. She had scored among the highest marks in the district. Her knees felt weak. She clutched the railing, trying to steady herself. Mrs. Patel spotted her and came rushing over. "Maya. You did it." Maya turned, tears streaming down her face. "I really did?" "Yes," her teacher said, hugging her. "You have made us all proud." When she reached home, she ran inside, waving the result sheet. "Papa. Ma," she shouted. "I passed. I got one of the highest scores." Her mother covered her mouth, eyes shining with tears. Her father sat down heavily on a chair, relief washing over his tired face. "We knew you could do it," he whispered. Maya hugged them both. For a moment, all the years of struggle and sacrifice felt like a bridge that had finally led them here. But there was still one more step. She needed the scholarship letter to be sure she could join the college. Every day after that, she waited anxiously for the postman. One morning, as she was helping her mother fold clothes, a knock came at the door. She ran to open it. The postman smiled. "A registered letter for you, Maya." Her hands trembled as she signed the receipt. She closed the door and stared at the envelope. On the corner, she could read the words, "Scholarship Committee." Her mother came to her side. "Open it, Beta." Maya took a deep breath and tore it open. Her eyes scanned the first line. "Congratulations. You have been awarded a full scholarship to City Medical College." Her vision blurred with tears. She looked at her mother, unable to speak. Her mother pulled her into her arms. "You did it. You made your dream come true." The days that followed felt like a dream. Neighbors came to congratulate Maya's family. Some brought sweets, others simply came to shake her father's hand and tell him what a good daughter he had raised. Maya felt humbled by everyone's kindness. She knew she carried not just her own hopes but those of her community. A week later, her father took a day off work to accompany her to the college for admission. They boarded the early morning bus to the city. The ride took 2 hours. Maya pressed her forehead against the window, watching the fields and small villages roll past. Her father sat quietly, clutching the envelope with her documents. Every now and then, he glanced at her with pride and wonder, as if he could hardly believe this was real. When they arrived at the medical college, Maya felt a thrill in her chest. The campus was large and full of students in white coats, moving between buildings with books in their arms. One day, I will wear that white coat, she told herself. They went to the admissions office. A kind clerk helped them fill out the forms. Because she had the scholarship letter, most of the fees were covered. Still, there were expenses for books and uniforms. Maya's father handed over the small bundle of notes he had saved. "This is all we have," he said quietly. The clerk counted the money and nodded. "That will do." Maya's throat tightened. She looked at her father, who tried to smile even though she could see the worry in his eyes. "I will make every rupee worth it," she promised silently. After the paperwork was done, she received her student ID card. She stared at it, running her finger over her own name and the words, "Bachelor of Medicine." It felt like holding a key to her future. On the way home, Maya and her father stopped at a roadside tea stall. They sat on a wooden bench, drinking hot chai from small glasses. For a while, neither of them spoke. Finally, her father cleared his throat. "I am proud of you, Maya." She swallowed hard. "Thank you, Papa." He looked at her with deep love. "No matter how difficult it gets, remember, your mother and I are always behind you." "I know," she whispered. They finished their tea in comfortable silence. The first day of college arrived quickly. Maya woke before dawn, nervous excitement filling her chest. She packed her bag carefully, making sure she hadn't forgotten anything. Her mother stood in the doorway, watching her tie her hair back. "You look like a real doctor already," she said softly. Maya smiled. "Not yet, Ma. But someday." Her father insisted on walking her to the bus stop. As the bus pulled up, he placed a hand on her shoulder. "Study hard," he said. "But don't forget to eat." She nodded, hugging him quickly before climbing aboard. College was unlike anything she had ever known. The classrooms were large, with dozens of students from all over the state. Some wore expensive clothes and spoke fluent English. At first, Maya felt shy. She worried they would look down on her because she came from a small town. But when the professor began the first lecture on human anatomy, all her doubts melted away. She listened with rapt attention, scribbling notes as fast as she could. She was here to learn, and no one would stop her. During the lunch break, she sat alone on a bench under a neem tree, unwrapping the chapatis her mother had packed. As she ate, a girl with curly hair and bright eyes came over. "Hi," the girl said. "I'm Lena. Is this seat free?" Maya nodded. "Yes." Lena sat down and smiled. "You look as nervous as I feel." Maya laughed softly. "I am a little nervous." "Me too," Lena said. "I don't know anyone here." "Neither do I." "Then maybe," Lena said, "we can be friends." Maya felt a warm relief. "I'd like that." They spent the rest of the afternoon exploring the library together. Rows upon rows of thick medical books lined the shelves. Maya ran her hand over their spines, feeling both intimidated and excited. "We have so much to learn," Lena whispered. "Yes," Maya agreed. "But we will learn it." Over the next weeks, Maya settled into her new routine. She attended lectures in the mornings, practical labs in the afternoons, and studied late into the nights. Sometimes she felt overwhelmed by the sheer volume of information. But every time she thought of giving up, she reminded herself why she was here. At night, she often called home. Hearing her parents' voices gave her strength. One evening, when she returned to her hostel room after a long day, she found a small envelope under her door. Inside was a note in careful handwriting. "You are doing better than you think. Keep going." There was no name. Maya held the note to her heart, tears in her eyes. Someone believes in me, she thought. And that means I can keep believing in myself. Weeks turned into months. The first year of medical college was the hardest thing Maya had ever faced. There were days when she felt like she was drowning in information, names of bones and muscles, chemical pathways, endless case studies. Some nights she fell asleep with her head on her open textbook. But every morning, she got up and tried again. Lena quickly became her closest friend. They studied together in the library until late, quizzing each other and sharing snacks. One rainy evening, when the power went out in their hostel, they sat on the floor by candlelight, practicing anatomy diagrams on scraps of paper. Maya looked at Lena and smiled. "Can you believe we've survived 6 months already?" Lena laughed. "Sometimes I think my brain will explode." "But it hasn't yet," Maya said. "So we'll keep going." Near the end of the first year, the college organized a health camp in a nearby village. Students were asked to volunteer. Maya immediately signed up. She knew this was her chance to do what she had always dreamed of, help people. On the morning of the camp, she climbed into the college bus with a bag of supplies. The road to the village was bumpy and dusty. As they drove past fields and small huts, Maya felt her heart beating faster. This is why I am here, she thought. At the village community hall, dozens of families waited for the doctors to arrive. Many of them looked worried and tired. Maya helped set up the tables and organize the medicines. When the patients began coming in, she assisted the doctors in checking blood pressure and explaining treatments. One woman came in with a little boy who had a bad cough. Maya knelt beside him and listened carefully as the mother described his symptoms. "He has been sick for many days," the woman said anxiously. "I don't have money to take him to the city hospital." Maya gently examined the child and showed the mother how to give him the syrup the doctor prescribed. As they left, the woman touched Maya's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have a kind heart." Maya felt a lump in her throat. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life, she thought. After the camp, she returned to college feeling renewed. The long hours of studying no longer felt like a burden but a path she had chosen with her whole heart. As exams approached, Maya studied harder than ever. She and Lena spent nights in the library, racing each other to finish practice questions. One night, as they packed up their books, Lena looked at her seriously. "Maya," she said, "do you ever feel like you're not good enough?" Maya paused. "Sometimes. Especially when I see how confident everyone else seems." "Me too," Lena admitted. "But I think, maybe we're stronger than we realize." Maya nodded. "We are. Because we're still here." The first year final exams were brutal. Maya's hands shook as she turned the pages of each paper. But she reminded herself, "I am prepared. I have worked for this." After the last exam, she walked out into the warm afternoon sun. She felt like she had run a marathon. She called her mother as soon as she reached her room. "It's over, Ma," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm so proud of you," her mother replied. "No matter what happens, you have already achieved so much." Maya closed her eyes, letting her mother's words sink into her heart. The results took weeks to be posted. Each day felt endless. Finally, the notice went up on the college board. Maya pushed through the crowd, scanning the list. When she found her name, passed with distinction, she covered her mouth with both hands. Lena was right beside her, grinning. "You did it," she squealed. "We did it," Maya corrected, hugging her tight. That evening, Maya sat by her hostel window, looking out at the city lights. She thought about how far she had come, from the little girl in a tiny house with big dreams to a medical student on her way to becoming a doctor. And she thought about how far she still had to go. But for the first time, she didn't feel afraid. I am not alone, she told herself. I am stronger than I ever knew. Maya's second year brought new challenges. The subjects grew more complicated: pathology, pharmacology, microbiology. Some lectures felt like a foreign language, filled with endless scientific terms she struggled to memorize. There were days she felt her confidence slipping. But every time she wanted to give up, she would think of the little boy in the village with the cough, and all the other people who needed someone to care for them. And so she kept going. One evening, as she sat alone in the library, she received a call from home. Her heart skipped when she heard her father's voice. Maya, he said, sounding tired, I have some news. Her chest tightened. What is it, Papa? I lost my job at the factory today. They are reducing staff. Maya felt the world tilt around her. For a moment, she could not find her voice. But, how will you manage? She whispered. We will find a way, he said gently. Don't worry about us. You just focus on your studies. But I can come home. No, he interrupted firmly. Your place is there. Your dream is bigger than any problem. We will manage here. When she hung up, tears rolled down her cheeks. She felt small and powerless, but deep inside, she knew her father was right. Leaving college would not help them. Succeeding would. The next morning, she applied for a part-time job in the college library. A few evenings a week, she would stack books and help catalog new materials. The small stipend wouldn't solve all her family's problems, but it would cover her personal expenses. Lena offered to help, too. We'll share books and notes. Don't worry. For the first time, Maya truly understood what friendship meant. The months passed in a blur of lectures, work, and study. There were moments she felt exhausted beyond measure. But every time she thought she couldn't go on, she remembered her promise to herself, I will finish this journey. I will not give up. In her third year, the students were assigned rotations in the hospital. On her first day, Maya put on her white coat and walked through the hospital corridors with her heart hammering in her chest. She had dreamed of this moment for so long. Her first patient was an elderly woman with pneumonia. Maya listened carefully as the woman described her symptoms. Will I be okay? The woman asked, her voice trembling. Maya looked into her tired eyes and smiled gently. Yes, she said softly. We will take care of you. In that moment, Maya felt something click inside her, like all the years of study and sacrifice had been leading to this, to stand beside someone who needed help and offer hope. Over time, Maya grew more confident. She learned how to take histories, assist in procedures, and comfort frightened families. She still worked in the library in the evenings, and she still sent part of her stipend home. Each time she called, her father would reassure her, we are managing, Beta. Just keep studying. And she did. In her final year, Maya faced the most difficult challenge yet, preparing for her final qualifying exams. Passing them meant she would become a doctor. For months, she studied every waking hour. Lena studied beside her, the two of them pushing each other to keep going. One night, as they took a break in the hostel courtyard, Lena looked up at the stars. Can you believe we're almost at the finish line? She asked. Maya closed her eyes and felt the cool breeze on her face. It doesn't feel real, she said quietly. It's real, Lena replied. And we earned it. The morning of the final exam, Maya woke before dawn. She stood at her window and watched the sun rising over the city. Just as she had done all those years ago in her tiny room, she whispered to herself, I am ready. The exams were grueling, but Maya moved through each paper with calm determination. When she walked out of the last exam hall, she felt as if a weight she had carried for years had finally lifted. She called home immediately. It's done, she told her parents, her voice shaking. There was a pause, then her father said, we are so proud of you, Maya. Her mother's voice came on the line, thick with emotion. You have made our dreams come true. A month later, Maya stood in front of the hospital notice board with Lena at her side. The final results were posted. For a moment, she couldn't bring herself to look. Her hands were trembling. Lena squeezed her arm. Ready? Maya took a deep breath and scanned the list. Her name was there, passed with honors. Her eyes filled with tears. She turned to Lena, who was grinning through her own tears. We did it, Maya whispered. Lena pulled her into a hug. Yes. We did. That evening, Maya called home with the news. She could hear her father's voice breaking as he repeated over and over, my daughter is a doctor. Her mother simply cried, too overwhelmed to speak. Maya closed her eyes and felt her heart fill with a quiet joy she had never known before. All the long nights, all the sacrifice, all the fear and doubt, they had been worth it. A few weeks later, Maya put on her white coat and walked through the hospital as an intern doctor. Patients turned to her, trusting her with their stories and their pain. And every time she introduced herself, Dr. Maya Patel, she felt a thrill of gratitude. She knew her journey was far from over. There would be more challenges, more long nights, more difficult days. But she also knew something else, she was strong enough to face them. And she would never, ever give up.